Akeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
Welcome to another episode of House Ticket, a program that informs you about the activities of House of Representatives. I'm your regular anchor, Binta Magaji. As part of our review series during the period the recess lasts, this week we shall review sectoral reforms pursued by the lawmakers through various bills. Our focus shall be on reforms in security, healthcare, as well as economic and financial reforms. We'll also bring you an update on the 2 weeks long interactions of the Committee on Finance over the MTEF FSP fiscal document for 2022 to 2024. Let's meet again after this short break. Stay with us.
We set our minds right, embrace each other in love and brotherhood. We will come through these troubling times. We will survive, we will recover, and then we will thrive. One nation under God, free, peaceful, and prosperous.
Thanks for staying tuned. During lawmakers' interactions with stakeholders over the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, MTEF FSP, by the Standing Committee on Finance, the committee expressed disappointment over the absence of agencies to give an account of their actual capital and revenue performances within the period spanning 2018 to 2020. The committee said sanctions await erring agencies, even as they promised zero allocation to such agencies for 2022. For more on this, do stay tuned for our first report on the program.
The 10-day public hearing held by the Finance Committee of the House on MTEF and FSP for the period 2022-2024 continued in the week 23rd to 26th of August 2021. One after the other, agencies' revenue performances and projections were scrutinized with the hope that it will give the committee a determinant factor to gauge whether or not the proposal for estimates for 2022-2024 in the MTEF FSP document is realistic. Most of the agencies that appeared before the committee on Tuesday, the 17th of August 2021, were turned back to come on another day set by the committee due to the absence of relevant documents. This included the Nigerian Immigration Services, National Space Research Agency, amongst others. Other agencies who had their chief accounting officers absent were turned back, such as NIMASA, NCAA, and more. The committee promised defaulting agencies more sanctions.
Any agency that the head refuses to come, we will delete the budget proposal from the budget office for that agency. The agency is not ready to defend its budget, its proposal. As far as MTEF is concerned, then it's not worthy of any allocation from Finance Committee.
For those present, such as the Federal Inland Revenue Services, FIRS, the committee tasked the agency to generate more revenue, surpassing expectations of the MTEF FSP projections in the face of the budget deficits being experienced.
I believe that what we gave you was below our expectation here. So I want you to tell us what National Assembly can do, because we are looking at you achieving that target and surpass it.
The implementation of the tax pro max has started impacting positively on revenue collection. The distinguished members will recall that in the year 2020, you approved for us that we could deploy technology for purpose of tax administration. Developing technology is not a joke. We have invested heavily in doing it, and internationally and locally, the efficacy and efficiency of the solution has been tested to be good. So it is only in the month of June that we are now able to start using that technology for purpose of generating taxes. So we want to believe that if we are patient with the laws we are getting, the support we are getting from you, and with the technology, by the grace of God, by end of this year, we should be able to surpass that target, I can assure you.
The FIRS expects to generate a value-added tax of 2.4 trillion naira in the year 2022 2.6 trillion naira for 2023 and 2.9 trillion naira in the year 2024. There was a reaction on the submission.
But with regards to petroleum profit tax, that's A and B, especially the decline in A, which the chairman explained that they're expecting some reconciliation due to the passage of the PIB and other things. I don't want you to have a projected mindset that Nigeria will lose. The PIB was meant to improve the economy. I wouldn't want you to start with that kind of mindset that when you reconcile, our revenue will go down. The oil companies will take that advantage on you. We don't know whether their representatives are here. They will take this. The PIB is highly technical. I would want you, my advice to FRS, please commission a committee to sit on PIB.
The evasion of tax by MTN owed Nigeria to the tune of 451.9 billion naira, as confirmed by the FIRS, was questioned by the committee.
Most of them, it has been paid, they produce receipt, we check it to their bank statement, check it to the Federation account. It was thorough investigation we carried out, and we confirmed some of the payment, but out of the 451 billion, there is a payment outstanding in as at January of about 96 billion as a result of our reconciliation, and which over 60 billion already had been paid.
Net assessment raised, plus withholding tax remitted by MTN but without e-tickets, without treasury receipts, is 451. So it's not about 90 billion. If I understand this document. So what is outstanding to be paid by MTN is 451.
The Nigerian Shippers Council took its turn before the committee. The council says customs collects levies and taxes on its behalf.
You have 9, lines of revenue. 9, from what I have seen from the document that you have given. Is it everything that the custom is collecting on your behalf, or is only the port development levy? Because if it is only port development levy, then you need to address us on the other ones. For instance, one that is very clear here is the issue of the registration of regulated service providers, whereby for the whole year 2020, you budgeted 70 million 200,000, but the actual performance was just 380,000. So which are those agencies that you are regulating that are supposed to register with you, and you are having less than 1% of that collection?
The Director, Strategy and Planning of the Council provided answers, being that the Executive Secretary recently took over the mantle of leadership of the Council.
The issue now is that we are not able to have a discussion or a roundtable discussion with the customs and tell them that, look, this is what we obtained from the budget office of the Federation, and this is what we are expected to collect for this year. It's always difficult to always get to that level to discuss with the customs, but I don't know why.
The Budget Office, Accountant General's Office, and the Nigerian Customs Services, as well as the Shippers Council, are to reappear before the committee again on the matter. For the Lagos International Trade Fair Complex, the MTF FSP document before the committee was an old version, being the 2021-2023 fiscal document.
But you stopped at 2023?
2023, yes. 2021 to 2023.
They have beat.
So that is
No, I think you are making a mistake. It's 2022 to 2024.
Yeah,
They are not going to, I'm sure Budget Office will not take 2021 from you. We've already done it.
okay.
That was in the past.
But we included it, but we can remove it now, if you give me time. We can remove it and start from 2022 to 2024.
Where's your finance person?
It's in Lagos.
And so they are not even aware that MTF is a 3-year rolling plan. They think it's the present year that you already have a budget. You are now proposing revenue for that same present year, which is 2021.
I don't know how they did it, but we can remove it.
I've put 2022 to 2024.
Oh, wow.
However, there was a 141 million naira revenue generation for year 2020 and 72 million naira for first quarter of year 2021, and the sum of 175 million naira for second quarter. All of the revenues fully remitted to the government coffers, as the agency said it is a fully funded institution by the government, so it remits all revenues generated. The Nigerian Export and Import Bank, Nexim, on the other hand, told the committee that it has never defended its MTEF FSP as it is a self-accounting agency. However, it pays dividends to its shareholders. The committee in that regard asked the agency to provide the proof of these payments of the dividends. Also along the line, the lawmakers resolved to initiate a status inquiry into the sum of 50 billion naira injected into the bank since 1991 by the federal government as an investment.
Married? Yes. Thank you.
You're still watching House Ticket, your window into the activities of the House of Representatives. Before the break, we took a summary of the interactions between lawmakers and agencies of government over the MTEF FSP fiscal document, where we saw the committee promising to sanction defaulting agencies. We'll continue to bring you reports of these meetings, so keep watching House Ticket. We now move on to our review of some laws aimed at sectoral reforms embarked upon by the 9th House since its inception in 2019. The various reforms sought by the House of Representatives formed part of the legislative agenda for the 9th House, where Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila had reiterated the resolve of the House under his stewardship to look into laws that are obsolete and bring them in tandem with modern-day requirements for effective governance and developmental purposes. With the inauguration of House Standing and Special Committees Wednesday, 2nd October 2019, the House began to look into these sectoral reforms after a lot of bills that seek to amend certain obsolete laws came up on the floor of the House. Beginning with security, a number of bills have been looked into aiming to provide better reforms to Nigeria's security apparatus. One of such steps is a public gathering to discuss the theme, repositioning the Nigerian police for enhanced service delivery, organized through the House Standing Committee on Police Affairs.
Look at the welfare of the police. You cannot feel people, particularly the police, in a situation where they can barely get themselves together. If I ask the policeman now, what's the situation with the insurance of the police personnel? I know very well the likely answer. Don't forget, it's going to be in the negative.
And I implore all of you to please kindly, in the interest of the country, come up with cogent ideas where we will now say, these are our inputs as a parliament. We can now suggest to the executives that this is what we think, if done, we will have our police correct.
The Nigerian police force has over the years been faced with inadequate funding to meet the challenges of the organization, such as the state-of-the-art crime-fighting equipment and the gadgets, as well as logistics for aerial surveillance and the ground patrols, training of personnel, appropriate human capacity development for effective policy formulation, coordination, supervision, monitoring, and evaluation.
Other stakeholders outside the security architecture participated in that interactive session.
From the experience we had in Borno, there is no synergy whatsoever between the military as well as the police in battling the ongoing counter-insurgency operations.
The Administration of Criminal Justice Act came into play in 2015. So much is expected of the police. Ask around how many policemen have been trained on what is expected of them. When people come to them in the police station, they will tell you they don't know. Or they know that there is a law existing as Administration of Criminal Justice Act.
Further consultations took place where the House partnered with the Nigerian Bar Association and the National Human Rights Commission to come up with some other bills like the Police Service Commission Reform Bill 2020. Other bills that came up include a bill for an act to repeal the Police Service Commission Act and the enactment of the Police Service Commission Bill 2020 to strengthen the commission to be more functional in its operations and for related matters, and a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National Institute for Police Studies, Bill 2020, to provide for administration and management of the institute and determining standard of knowledge and skills to be acquired by the personnel of the institute and for related matters. All in all, about 15 bills on security scaled second reading in July of this year, 2021. On health sector, a number of reform bills have been considered by the House since its inception in 2019 with the intent to develop primary healthcare system through legislation to improve policy implementation, unify the national program for immunization, as well as expand the mandate of primary healthcare to address cancers and other non-communicable diseases, as well as general healthcare services in Nigeria. The bills include a bill for an act to repeal the Quarantine Act laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the control of infectious diseases. The bill also seeks to make provisions relating to quarantine and make regulations for preventing the introduction into and spread in Nigeria of dangerous infectious diseases and for related matters. The Joint Committee on Healthcare Services and Health Institutions and Justice organized a public hearing on the bill. The Federal Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Justice participated at the hearing.
Powers of the DG, which is coming up constantly by everyone. I'm aware that in the Senate version, we're looking at more of the issues to do with the House conversion. It should be more of the committee driving that, along with the DG who might be a member of that committee. So that itself will allay the concern of most people in terms of the overruling power of the DG as presently in the committee, in the bill presently. So then for the committee itself, we will replicate what we have as a PTF, which will be appointed by the current PTF and appointed by the president. The funding should also be created, which we have also put to the committee reviewing that, so that the committee will have a source of funding that is guaranteed that might also be budgeted for.
The Nigerian Governors Forum and Northern Governors Forum also spoke on the general principles of the bill.
The bill takes away the only authority the governors have to take specific steps and measures in their domains during an outbreak of an infectious disease. A situation where state governors do not have any power to make regulations in their state in the event of an outbreak of an infectious disease or to declare any part of the state an infectious area is not only inimical to the country's federalism but also a recipe for disaster which cannot be managed by NCDC.
The governors therefore advocated a repeal of the entire bill.
The discretionary powers of the President and the Director General of the NCDC should be reviewed with the aim of spreading same among the authorities of the three tiers of government. This will ensure that everyone is adequately involved in the efforts to confront any outbreak of an infectious disease.
The bill came up as a response by the 9th National Assembly to the novel coronavirus, but it received a lot of negative press, which the lawmakers had to address.
Reasons why we offer ourselves for public considerations of this nature is the fact that we have an inherent belief that we can be human in the course of our work. The belief that we can also share in the intelligence and the expertise of other people out there who are not necessarily members of the House of Representatives. And even with the presentations we have made, which of course most of them are professional and things we can also look at critically, I do not see us being very far away from each other, the position of the Governors Forum and the position of the National Assembly. But I have to say very emphatically that no matter what the cynicisms, no matter what the speculations, no matter what the spread of rumors, fake news, the leadership of this House under the able leadership of Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila and other leaders as principal officers of the 9th House of Representatives, and I think by implication the 360 membership of our great House of Representatives cannot and will not be distracted by this kind of cynicism.
What we are trying to do here is to set the pace, to set the agenda, have an act that will guide the activities of the governors and their houses of assembly in having a bill to manage this issue, so that there will be uniformity in handling this issue.
What kind of law do we need? That's the other question. So definitely any law that we make will be within the confines of our constitution, with which we will be able to safeguard not only the rights of citizens, but the right, in terms of what their rights is. But as they often say, where your rights ends, the others begin. The overall right is the protection of life of the citizens or anybody that is resident within the confines of Nigeria.
The committee has received over 130 submissions from the general public and stakeholders alike. By the end of the 2 days hearing, one thing agreed upon was need for the repeal of the 1926 Quarantine Act. The lawmakers promised to factor in the contributions in reworking the intendments of the bill for future reconsiderations. There were more stakeholders' engagement on several other health sector reform bills, such as a bill for an act to amend the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act of 2004 and for related matters, and a bill for an act to establish the National Blood Service Commission to coordinate, regulate and ensure the provision of quality blood and blood products and related matters. Also, there was a bill for an act to establish cancer registry to make provision for compilation of statistics record to the incidence of cancer to provide a basis for direction of program for research and for cancer treatment and for related matters. Still on healthcare, on Tuesday, 22nd March 2021, the House Standing Committee on Healthcare Services held under public engagement with stakeholders yet again over 6 bills around the health sector, amongst them an amendment of the National Health Act of 2014 to define basic minimum package of health services. The amendment bill is also to provide a mechanism for realizing the objectives of the Principal Act in providing free healthcare services to all Nigerians without prejudice to the requirement of payment to the contributory scheme stipulated in the National Health Insurance Scheme Act and for related matters. The amendment of the National Healthcare Act of 2014 will also enable inclusion of an effective response mechanism to unforeseen circumstances such as the novel coronavirus pandemic. The Minister of Health lauded the commitment of the House in the health sector as seen in the various strides on matters of health since inauguration of the 9th Assembly. Other bills came up for amendments by the 9th House, which includes the NAFDAC Act, which seeks the introduction of coordination of clinical trials and some new offences, increased penalties for commission of offences under the bill. The amendment of the NAFDAC Act also seeks to capture other forms of packaged water other than in bottles and encourage cooperation with other relevant agencies in carrying out its functions. The establishment of the National Agency for Food Technology Development and for related matters. Also, there's a bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Food Safety and Hygiene Surveillance Corps 2020 with the function, among others, to regulate, supervise and oversee food safety and hygiene practices in markets, eating places, training, issue of national licenses to persons participating in raw, cooked food, handling businesses in order to avoid food and water contamination and mishandling and for related matters. And on health institutions, public hearings held on the following bills, which include a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Medical Center FMC Wase, Plateau State and for related matters, and the bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center Igboho, Oyo State and for related matters. That was our review of some of the laws introduced by the 9th House to engender sectoral reforms in security, healthcare and the economy. Laws are the basis of which the nation is run, and there's no better way to oil the wheels of change than by giving Nigerians the right set of laws. Thanks for watching and see you next time.